In 4 BC, Jerusalem erupted in celebration. After 40 years on the throne, King Herod was dead. Now, all of those determined to throw off Roman rule saw their chance. More and more armed groups began roaming the countryside, attacking isolated Roman garrisons and looting the caravans of merchants bound for Egypt. But the rebels did most of their fighting, not with the Romans, but with their fellow Jews. For nothing enraged the rebels more than a Jew who had abandoned Jewish traditions for Roman ones. To the rebels, the worst culprits were wealthy Jews who broke the law God gave to Moses on Mount Sinai, restricting the enslavement of fellow Jews. The mistreated slaves offered the rebels a perfect opportunity to add to their ranks. And so they began attacking the estate of one wealthy Jew after another, freeing the slaves and inviting them to join the rebellion.
They have an unconquerable love of freedom. For them, God is the only Lord and Master. They think it little to submit to torturous forms of death and punishment of their family and friends, if only they can call no man master.
In the eyes of the Romans, these Jewish freedom fighters were brigands and bandits, and that's how they're described in the ancient sources. In their own eyes and in the eyes of Jewish history, they were not bandits at all. They were like Robin Hood, or if you will, Che Guevara. They were revolutionary figures and heroes of a resistance against a foreign oppressor.
But the rebels, too weak to overthrow Rome, only succeeded in plunging Judea into chaos. For decades, the region remained trapped in a vicious cycle of Roman repression, rebel uprisings, and civil war between Jews.
You've got Jewish groups, some pro-revolutionary, some anti-revolutionary, fighting within themselves. And you have at the same time Roman procurators that are rapacious, taking as much tax money as they can, and in fact not maintaining law and order. At the same time, you have Roman soldiers all over the place who have no respect for the Jews and for their religion. So the whole thing is sort of careening towards a kind of ultimate explosion.
By 30 AD, numerous preachers were responding to the apocalyptic mood in Judea. Some claimed to be messiahs, come to lead a rebellion against the Romans. Others taught their followers how to live amid the violence, like Hillel. One preacher influenced by Hillel's school of Judaism was Jesus of Nazareth. Hillel's admonition to treat others as you would like to be treated became for Jesus being willing to turn the other cheek to your enemies.
Most of the ethics of Jesus, the beautiful ideas that you read about in the Sermon on the Mount or on the Plain, depending on what version you want to take, these are the types of ethics that the Pharisaic rabbis, like Hillel and Shammai, were talking about. And this is something which is common to Judaism and Christianity and to our civilization as a whole.
In his most famous sermon, on a hilltop overlooking the Sea of Galilee, Jesus told his disciples how they should respond to the chaos that surrounded them.
Blessed are the gentle. They shall have the earth as inheritance. Blessed are the merciful. They shall have mercy shown them. Blessed are the pure in heart. They shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers. They shall be recognized as children of God.
Jesus' conviction that each human being needed to strive to make the world a better place was part of a Jewish tradition that reached back to the prophets of the Hebrew Bible.
The more we learn about Judaism in the first century, and especially about the variety of ways of being Jewish in the first century, the more Jewish Jesus looks. The thought that this is a world in which God will reign alone and supreme is supremely Jewish. The telling of parables in order to clarify, make his points, the very form of Jesus' rhetoric is Jewish.
Like the Essenes, Jesus was deeply influenced by the prophecies in the Bible that during a period of incredible upheaval, God would redeem the world once and for all. He began to preach that the time had come.
He goes around preaching that the kingdom of God is about to begin, and everyone must be ready for this kingdom of God. So he clearly is one of those eschatological prophets, those people expecting the end of days that we learn about from the Dead Sea Scrolls, that Josephus tells us about. He's part of this ferment that is that feeds off the expectation that some final act of God must set the world right again.
With the countryside in turmoil and talk everywhere of messiahs who would lead the Jewish people to freedom, the Roman authorities were constantly arresting and crucifying those considered troublemakers. In 33 AD, Jesus of Nazareth was one of those singled out and crucified. In the eyes of the Romans, he was just one more would-be Messiah who would not be leading a revolt. But Jesus' followers among the Jews believed that the kingdom of which he was speaking was not of this world, but the next. For the moment, these Jews, who would come to be called Christians, were just another of the many groups of Jews trying to understand the bloody and chaotic world of Judea in the 1st century AD.